Good morning, everyone. I welcome all our viewers for the day 2 of our webinar series on occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, People's Connect Outreach activity. Today's speaker is Dr. Kumara, Principal Scientist in SACON. So I'll just welcome our sir.
Yes, I'm here.
Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah, I could hear you. Shall I go ahead with the presentation? Could you hear me?
Sir, please turn on the audio.
Audio is turned on. Could you hear me?
So one second. So one second. So before starting with the program, I'll just give a brief introduction about you. Is it okay, sir?
Yeah. Go ahead.
One second. Okay. Dr. H.N. Kumara obtained his PhD degree from University of Mysore on his studies on an ecological assessment of mammals in non-sanctuary areas of Karnataka. He has been involved in studies focused on the distribution of mammals, ecology, and behavior of primates in Annamalai Hills. He has been surveyed the nocturnal slender lorises across its distribution rates in entire South India and studied some of the lesser known mammal species of their status. He is involved in identifying the forest areas for conservation for threatened species in southern states. He has over 105 publications and 4 book chapters for his credits. He was in National Institute of Advanced Studies as young scientist, and he joined SACON as scientist in March 2010. With this brief introduction, I would request Kumar sir to take over the program.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please present. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please speak. So we can hear you. Please continue.
No, I'm uploading. I'm making a presentation visible. Is it visible now? Presentation is not, you're presenting to everyone.
No, sir, just once again. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning to all. It is a great opportunity to share some of our journey in the night with the lorises and across its habitat in India. And I thank BP Ravi, Ajit Kulkarni, and other my friends in Zoo for giving this opportunity and thinking of me for this presentation. And I really great for all of you people. And today I'm not going to give a typical of our scientific presentation. And today I would like to go with more of a journey that the way we have taken it up on survey of these slender loris or research in slender loris in India. And This is a kind of a journey. I welcome all of you to join and enjoy this journey with us. And I start with kind of a briefing about primates globally and where slender loris starts. Then I will move to how we have surveyed the slender loris and how we started unfolding the information about loris in India. So Mysuru grey slender loris, and I have retained the title Mysuru grey slender loris because this is one of the species carries the name of Karnataka. Even if you look at IUCN website, the common name of this species is Mysuru. Mysuru is carried with this species, and that makes this species more interesting. If you look at this map, this provides idea about how primates are globally distributed. If you look at it, this is New World we call this is Latin America and Mexico, Africa, and one small corner of this Arab country, basically Saudi Arabia region, and Southeast Asia up to Japan. This is where the primates are found, largely, basically, tropical region. Not, primates are found in any of these temperate forests. There are about 505 species are known to occur, globally, and they are largely classified into two major categories. That is strepsirrhini and haplorhini. What is actually, if you look at how, what is the major morphological character that was used to segregate these primates of the, global. Basically, it is the nostrils or the nose. And for example, if you take here, the major category strepsirrhini, they have a kind of a extended nostril with opened skin. That's what makes this group entirely different. And the other primates, if you look at it, they don't have that extended nostrils. They're all behind it. And that's where these two categories are made, initially. For example, strepsirrhini, there are lemurs. These lemurs are largely confined to Madagascar island. And other group is Lorisidae. Lorisidae is having lorises, potos, and galagos. Potos and galagos are largely confined to Africa, where lorises are found in Southeast Asia. And haplorhini, this is a torsius and found in Southeast again. Platyrrhini is the group of primates confined to Latin America and Central America. That is Mexico and this area. And these macaques, these primates are having their openings, these nostrils on lateral side. That's how they are grouped entirely in a different category of primates. They are also known as New World primates. The Old World primates are Catarrhini, where all other primates, apes and baboons, macaques, langurs are found. And all these 505 species are grouped in this category. This is the taxonomic structure of the primates. Today's our interest is largely strepsirrhini, the Loridae, that is lorises. That is here. Once it comes to India, India is another important biogeographic region having about 24 species of primates. Two important again hotspots for the primates in the country is Northeast India, Indo-Burma and Eastern Himalaya. That is the area is having about 14 species of primates, and where Western Ghats is having 6 species. Other 2 species of primates, basically Hanuman langur and rhesus macaque, are found in a much larger area of India, where the long-tailed macaque is confined to few islands of Nicobar group, and this gives the kind of a status number of primates found in India. How these primates have a social system. This slide depicts the pattern of the social organization system. If you take, if the animals are adapted to the night, they are mostly solitary. This example is the loris. Loris usually they have a home range, independent home range. Each female is having an independent home range, and there are males, they have a common home range with the females. On the other hand, if you look at the day, there are again, they are largely diurnal and mostly group living. Again, these group living primates can be grouped in 2 different categories, that is open canopy system and closed canopy system. In open canopy system, if the species are adapted, they are largely multi-male and multi-female societies. On the other hand, if you look at uni-male or multi-female, if they are in a closed canopy, for example, rainforest areas, or closed canopy system, forest living, because some of the species are even found in the scrub forest and open area, urban area and village area, then their social organization is system. And here they are uni-male or multi-female society are pair living or small family units. Examples are here. They have macaques for pair living animal. They are gibbons, and here they are uni-male ones. They are langurs. Once it comes to now the solitary animal, what I have mentioned in the previous slide is the slender loris, the lorises, and here lorises. Basically, it is not only slender loris but also even slow loris. Now I'm going to talk about only slender loris. Slender loris are confined to South India, basically India and Sri Lanka. And why I'm not saying South India, because still the status of the loris in some of the areas here is not clear, though it is historically this is established. Otherwise, all the known information on slender loris is largely confined to the South India, this part of the country. Now, once it comes to how many species and subspecies are there in the slender loris, there are now only 2 species. Initially, it was thought that there are many subspecies of slender loris, but now only Loris tardigrades, that is a red loris, confined to the Sri Lanka Horton Plains of the Sri Lanka, and other one is Loris lydicarinus. Loris lydicarinus is a grey slender loris. Grey slender loris is found in Sri Lanka and also India. In India, there are 2 subspecies of slender loris, means the Loris lydicarinus. The earlier, there were 3 other subspecies were thought of it, and recent information based on the genetic analysis, many of these were ruled out of subspecies in Sri Lanka. That's how only 2 species in Sri Lanka and 1 species in India, 2 subspecies. Now, in India, one is the Mysore grey slender loris. Other one is Malabar grey slender loris. Malabar represents the Western Ghats and a large part of the high evergreen forests of the area. And grey slender or Mysore represents the plains of the southern Deccan Plateau and plains of the India. And this is the only species, it carries the name Mysore. That's what it makes more interesting. This one is known as Loris lydicarinus. The other one in the Western Ghat is Loris lydicarinus malabaricus. And how they look. This is Malabar slender loris, and this is Mysore slender loris. And you can see the difference in the color pattern. And I would like to give more detail about how to differentiate them. One of the major variation is body weight. The species, the Mysore slender loris, the body weight is more than 200 grams. If you look at, there are 4 individuals, basically 3 adult weighed. It was, minimum was 245 gram adult weight, and it can go up to 400 grams. On the other hand, maximum weight for Malabaricus is 180 grams. Though that means the body mass itself vary a lot between these two subspecies. Of course, there is so much of variation in many other features of the body of these two subspecies. But one more important character, that is morphological character, that is typically used to differentiate these two species are these circumocular patch. That is, this is the patch that is around. Ocular means it's the eye, and around the eye, the patch, brown patch exists. That's what makes the difference between these two. If you look at these two, this is the Mysore slender grey loris, Mysore grey slender loris. This is the Malabar grey slender loris. Here, the dark patch. This is a dark patch, but this is thicker, right up to below the earlobe. And in case of Malabar, relatively, this is actually opposite. Basically, here the difference, this particular width of the white is more in the Mysore. And you cannot make out that white line here. It's a very thin line. That means this ocular patch is very, very thick and very dark in case of Malabar's grey slender loris. This is how when from the distance when we look at it that they differ. And another thing is this is largely dark brown or reddish tinge will be there. Here, this is largely grey tinge will be there at the tip of the hair. And of course, the head and body length vary a lot between these two. And body weight, it 226 to 346. It is less than 160 or 70 grams. And this is the basically morphological variation between these two subspecies. And often, when we have a tendency, when we see any animal, a habit of seeing what sex of this individual is, that one. But in case of loris, it is not that easy to differentiate these two sexes, basically males and female. From a distance, if you look at it, both the sexes is having the genital system like this. But this is the female and this is the male. These three are the male. As they grow adult, this is how the male looks. But from a distance, making out the difference of the scrotal sac, from the female, it is difficult. But because largely we tend to see only protrusion and we decide, okay, this is the male. But it is not like that. both the sexes is having this genital protrusion, only one close examination of these two sexes we can identify which is male and which is the female. If we could see the below, then only we can make out this is the female. Otherwise, if you closely examine the female genitalia, then only you can see that structurally it is different. Then only one can differentiate how male is different from the female. So this is one of the common mistakes that we do it when we look at, because it is easy to see in many other species of primates or the animals, and easy to differentiate them. But unlike other species, slender loris, we have a chance of committing mistakes.
Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was some disturbance in the connectivity. We could not hear in between. Can you please repeat it, sir?
Which slide? This slide? Particular slide?
No, sir. Just a two sentence like behind. There was some disturbance in the connectivity.
Okay. Basically, what I was telling, differentiating male and female by looking at genitalia, it is difficult because both the sexes having the genitalia, there's a protruded system. Only by close examining of them, looking at the structure, only we can differentiate the sexes. Because males are having a dark scrotal sacs. Once we that is usually covered with the fur. Only when we closely examine, then only we can differentiate that is different different from the female. And because many often we commit a mistake of by just looking at it that recording it is male. And often then we might record only males, then we don't record any females. And because this is one of the important things that need to be considered while surveying or understanding the demography or identifying the lorises. And till some time back, in 96, and this species was not that explored, and that is the time exploration for loris in India it was initiated, and that is the time, especially in the 96. That is the time some of the events happened, and that has ultimately led to explore this particular species. What happened? To explore this species, and this is the field station. That is the time we were working in Annamalai Health System. There's a group of youngsters and working with Professor Meva Singh from University of Mysuru. He had a mega project working on diurnal primates, and there was so much of work it was going on in Annamalai Hills, largely on lion-tailed macaque, Hanuman langur, bonnet macaque, and Nilgiri langurs. And that is the time even there was one large project was launched in Jodhpur under Professor Monat Saab. That is with the support of US Fish and Wildlife. And through that, one of the girl from US, Nakaris, she came to India, and she went to different parts of the country to find out who are working on loris. She was much interested in this nocturnal primate, and she wanted to work on this primate, that is sheep. Yeah. When she approached different primatologists at different premier institutes, ultimately she was sent to Dr. Monat Saab. Then Monat Saab said that, okay, you can go to South India, meet Professor Meva Singh, and he is the one actually working on primates in South India. That's where the lorises are from. And through that contact, then she landed to Professor Singh's lab, and then Sir came with her to Annamalai Hills, that this is the field station, and we had a lot of discussion on about the loris. And when he came and started discussing about the lorries, and we were clueless, and we never thought that there is other primate, that is a lorries, found that has to be even explored. And all that time we were totally confined to the just 4 primates, and just we were working on 4 primates. Then ultimately we had no answer for lorries. Then she landed, and we went. We had a lot of discussions in the field station. Then went to even some of the native people. Then we started interacting with those people, and with many of the people, even we were unable to get any information on lorries in Annamalai Hill system. Then ultimately she guided that if this is a lorries, this lorries, based on her experience, her exposure, her reading, she suggested, come, we will go, and at least in some of the area we ourselves we will explore. And based on that discussion, and one night we went and started looking for animals in the night. We went to foothills of the Annamalais, and all the people with a torch and light, and fixed the headlamp to the head, and started going in the middle of a dark, and in the scrub forest. We're loaded with probably elephants and many other animals. Without having any idea, we started just exploring the area. And ultimately, at one point of a time, we had glitters. It's a reflection of ice from some animal. Then, she pointed out that is the lorries. Then, okay, at least we have got an idea that this species has to be explored during the night time and by flashing the light, and this has to be identified by reflection of the ice and to the beginning. But ultimately, after several days of night ventures in Annamalais, we were not able to get really any good detection of a lorries, except one of the reflection in somewhere from a long distance, which we thought it is of a lorries. Then ultimately, after a few days of these interactions and explorations, they decided that Sir and Nakaris went back to Mysuru, but they gave a kind of a big assignment that somehow we have to explore this animal. And with that, we had a Prater book and a photo of a lorries, and we have got it, and we started going to different tribal colonies, native people, and at least to someone can give a much more proper answer for this species. Then in one of the place, that is Kadampare, there is a tribal colony, and we went there, myself with my friend Anand Kumar, and he is Anand Kumar right now. He is in NCF and working on elephants still in the Annamalai Hills. And we both started going to different people, different colonies, and interacting with the people. In one of the colony, one of the old person ultimately said, "Sir, I will take you to one particular village market that is locally called, something in a weekly market, and you might get an answer in that particular place." As we had no clue of the animal, we accepted this venturing and exploring in this particular pattern. And he decided that day, and that day we decided to go and with him to that particular place. And we went to from Annamalais to the Udmalpet, that is the area, and it is the adjoining area of Annamalai Tiger Reserve, in between area. And we went to that particular village where he was familiar with that particular person, where he had seen the lorries with that guy. And he didn't tell that where we are going and who we are meeting. Ultimately, we are ended up in the market and with the one astrologer. Basically, he is an astrologer who sits in the market, in a weekly market. And in many places, probably you have seen, parrot coming out and picking up a kind of a thread or a card which tells the fortune of the people. And this guy was using this animal, that is a slender loris, and for to do the same thing. And this is what is the common practice many in some of the regions of actually the Tamil Nadu, especially of Madurai and adjoining areas of the Western Ghats and the foothills, leeward side of the Ghats. And that is our proper first sighting of a loris, that is the Mariappan loris. And the more astonishing thing, what happened with him, when we approached him, he ran from the market. And after some time, then our tribal fellow went to his home, and then he pulled, because we were having all uniform and a bike and everything, got scared of us. And this ultimately he was considered that, okay, we are not forest department people, we have not gone for confiscating the animal. Then he came back, and then he started slowly interacting with us. Then he narrated the story from where he gets this animal and where that exact location. Then ultimately he has asked some money to feed loris. Then we paid the money. Ultimately he bought a glass of tea, and it was so surprising that loris also drank a tea. This is Mariappan tea, Mariappan loris. And with that all surprising information, we came back. Then we informed our sir, okay, this is the place that the lorises are found, and this is the information. Then after some time, sir conveyed that, okay, come, I will come over there, we will go to that place and we will explore. And that's how then we went to Dindigul. That is the area, and the location he pointed out was Sirumalai area of Tamil Nadu. And we went to Dindigul, interacted with the forest department, but they had no clue of the slender loris. And ultimately, DCF asked where the slender loris to his rangers. Rangers asked foresters. Ultimately, ended up with few watchers who are aware of slender loris. And ultimately, they planned the trip to a specific location, and they took us there. Then we went and sat there, and one boy came. It is it's a cropland, and it's a mango orchard adjoining scrub forest. And he came and he made us to sit, okay, in the in the middle of his plantation area is the crop field, and he made us to sit for a long time. And until 6:30 we were sitting, and he gave a coconut, had a coconut. After some time, then he came with the typical hunter style with a head torch and a battery. And then he said, okay, then we can make that, shall we go for searching? No, sir, you sit here, I will show. Then after the dark, just he flashed the light, and the lorises were there everywhere in the orchard, in the fences, and adjoining forest. And from the sitting, we were able to see about several lorises. And that's how the loris were started. And then the real research started on loris. Then we planned in such a way that, okay, if we have to search for a loris, if we have to cover a larger area by just walk and in a much smaller way, it is not possible to cover it. Then we connected a battery to the vehicle battery that torch was connected, and made us the vehicle to survey the loris, and we can sit on top and survey much larger area and cover much larger area. This is how the search for the loris was started. And yes, the proper light and torch was prepared. And how to identify? Basically, when we flash a light, animal give a reflection. They have a kind of chemicals inside their eye that is called tapatium lucidum. This lucidum, when we flash a light on the animal, it gives a reflection. Especially the reflection of the slender loris is amazing, because it is like their sockets are very close, and a much larger eye, so that the reflection is very, very red and very bright. And this is how we can even differentiate loris from many other species, because in most of the other animals, the eyes are laterally fixed. And only sometimes we used to get a confusion with the owls. But otherwise, if you are very, properly focused on it, looking at a movement of the animal, we learned to differentiate loris from even owls. And this is how the loris survey was started in India, and this is the actual first proper work that was conducted in the field in India. And the first survey for loris was in Dindigul, and entire Dindigul, we assessed and found about a 1.1 encounter rate, because we didn't attempt to estimate the density, because we wanted the much larger area to be surveyed. Then we consider that what kind of an index to be used. Then the encounter rate. That is the number of kilometers that we cover and how many animals we see. And this is what is the index that we have used. And we cover all possible land use pattern and habitat available in the Dindigul area. And in Dindigul, the species found is, earlier it was known as a tardigratus, but now it is Loris lydicarinus. That is Mysuru Slender loris. And the first report, the first publication came on their status in Dindigul. And this provides the encounter rate of about 1.1. Then this is the subsequent to that survey over the period in the last 20 years, we covered many other parts of the its habitat, and I present the report of all of them, so then to give a kind of an idea that how they are distributed, where they are distributed, and the pattern, or what is the abundance of it. And this is the second report we came, and this is for entire Tamil Nadu, that is survey, and the encounter rate in some of the area are very high. And largely, in many of these areas, the lorises are found in the non-protected area, especially reserve forests and scrub forests. And in Karur, 1.23 was the encounter rate, Pudukkottai 1.95 per kilometer, Sivaganga 1.41, Tiruchirappalli, it was one of the highest recorded place, 2.21. And if you look at this, the summary of the lorises here in Tamil Nadu is only Mysuru grey slender loris was recorded, and this is how the distribution of the grey slender loris. And there are, in few locations, still we have a confusion of the species, especially here in the Chinnar, and also in the Theni and the Kambam area, where the little bit of a dry forest goes to Kerala in the border area, that we could not differentiate the type of a subspecies, whether it is Malabaricus or a Mysuru Slender loris. And if you look at it, even many of these coastal plains and very close to the especially towards the plains, and much of non-habitat is largely a paddy field area, especially this entire belt, there are no records of loris, and largely confined to the forests of the Eastern Ghats sporadic hill systems that lorises are confined. And even lorises, especially Mysuru Slender loris, goes up to the Western Ghats. That's the leeward side of the Western Ghats. Basically, animalized. This is the foothills, and this is all the scrub or deciduous forest. This is where the Mysuru Slender loris is found. And another interesting thing while surveying in Tamil Nadu, that we had one experience in one of the area when we were going for the survey. And since it was a night survey, and people were also not aware of who are these people, and we surveyed, and while coming back, we had one kind of a different type of experience. That in some of the villages, 3, 4 villages, they had blocked the road with the stones, and people were ready with the stick and the stones in the hand. They were waiting. When we came back, then those people, we had to stop because all the roads were blocked, and people came, from all the sides and with the stick and shouting and all those things. Then fortunately, we had a forest department watcher and a local person who was also aware of that watcher, and they were able to communicate each other, and they conveyed that, yeah, we had gone for the survey for the animals in the night. People were thought that we were thieves. We had gone there for to pick up the goats. In those areas, often people used to lose their goats and sheep, and people used to come and pick up them in a small lorry or these things and transport it. And that's how people were worried, that one. And also in the subsequent villages, also we had the same situation, but unfortunately we were not beaten, and stones were not thrown, and those people again joined us, came to next village. They conveyed the same story. Okay, these people are not the thieves, and they have come for Lori's survey, and that's how we managed and we escaped. And once the people were aware of the people, then we never had this type of an issue in Tamil Nadu, and successfully we have completed surveying Lori's in Tamil Nadu. Once it comes to the Andhra Pradesh, again, during the Indo-US Primate project, we were too ambitious, and we wanted to survey entire Andhra Pradesh. We started from Chittoor district, and we surveyed 3 districts of Andhra Pradesh: Kadapa, Nellore, and Chittoor district. And especially Tirupati, Tirumala Hills, and Chittoor East is really having a good number of detection of Loris. And again, here the more interesting thing is basically the encounter rate is more in the cultivated land and the roadside trees. In all other area, it is much more a kind of a barren, a rocky system. Probably that may be the reason that probably these animals have got a shelter or taken a shelter in those orchards or cultivated land. But this is how the encounter rate, and surprisingly, no detection or very few detection in Kadapa district except in Chittivelu, and but most of the detections were in Chittoor district of the 3 districts, and adjoining areas in Nellore district also. But another interesting experience that we had in Andhra Pradesh was different. One day we were going for the surveying Loris, then we came to know from the DCF that there are different issues, Naxalite issues. If you are going in the daytime and you work, no issues. But if you are going in the night, you have a problem. There are Naxalite issues. And just some time back, a month before, when we went and exploring those areas, his jeep was exploded in the area. Then he warned us. Then we decided that how to survey again in Andhra in that case. Then what we used to do is previous evening.
Sir?
Hello? Yeah?
One second, sir. Sir, there's been some disturbance from your end due to connectivity. Can you please check it, sir?
It is fine actually, perfectly fine. I have kept even sound also fine. Nothing.
We'll continue. There was some disturbance. Okay, sir. Continue, please.
Okay. And what we used to do is, because working in the night is not easy, unlike in the daytime, you can go and walk all around and do all type of research. But working in the night, makes more complicated, and people also feel, in a different way why these people are coming, and all those things are happen. And it's another experience that we had, and we had to stop because of one of the incidents in Andhra Pradesh, is Naxalites. But we were aware of the issue in Andhra. That's why we used to go and communicate to each village. Basically, villages, if they are aware of our ventures, then the assumption was that they will not disturb. So previous day, go and inform that we are students, we are coming to explore loris, and that's how then we used to communicate. So then next day you go and survey in those areas. In spite of all these experiences, one night we went to one of the patch in the G and with the department, and we surveyed the loris. In the midnight, we were coming out, and suddenly outside of the forest, there were about hundreds of oil lit torches everywhere. People were gathered, and they started coming from all the directions with a different type of survival instinct. Then we drove in such a way and we escaped. Then we communicated to sir, and then we stopped the work. That's how that in Andhra Pradesh, we know only from this region, although the lorises may be present in many other areas. There is a possibility, and it is, historically, it is known to exist in other areas. Otherwise, right now, in the last 2 or 3 decades, whatever we know, it's only from these 3 districts, and otherwise it is not known. This is how the research was stopped. However, we came up with whatever that findings it was there. But again, if you look at the abundance, it is not that great when compared to Kerala, Tamil Nadu, what I have presented, where the abundance is 2.25 animals per kilometer. But here, if you look at it, its maximum what we have recorded is 0.48. And once it comes to the Kerala state, and Kerala is largely having other subspecies, that is Malabar slender loris, and in the 2 phases we have surveyed the entire area to check even whether both the species are found or not, like that. And only in 2 places Mysuru Slender loris was found. That is here, that is actually Chinnar area. Here and in the rest of the area, the loris found in Kerala is Malabar slender loris. And the encounter, if you look at again, the Malabar slender loris abundance is not that great in the particular place where they are found in much larger is Aralam. This is the wildlife sanctuary in Kannur, that is the northern part of that belt, and this is where the encounter rate is 1.44. That is the highest recorded for the Malabar slender loris in Kerala. And this provide largely part of the Tamil Nadu, and wherever that other areas left, and we the complete distribution of a loris, and this is the pattern of a slender loris. That is a loris in Kerala. And if you look at where they are distributed, basically, if you look at it, for example, if we take a Permiculum and Anomalai hill systems of this one, we don't have in a higher elevation area. They are largely confined to the slopes or foothills of the, again, Western Ghats, basically. And that means that even in the Malabar slender loris also, they are confined to scrub forest or more of a moist deciduous forest of Western Ghats, not found everywhere. And the highest abundance is, as I have told, Aralam, and the high abundance of Mysuru loris was in Kolangor. This is where the in Kerala, highest. And this is the area, actually, one of the important areas. This is the end of the Western Ghats, where the rainforest ends and the scrub forest continues on the foothill side. It's the continuation of the. This is how the even grey slender loris, Mysuru slender loris, come up to this particular area. Otherwise, grey slender loris is largely confined to the leeward side of the Western Ghats. Once it comes to the Karnataka, and I know it is very interesting. That's the time I was working in anomalies and the primates and surveyed different parts of the even Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and also Andhra Pradesh, and we were doing quite a lot of work in other parts, but not much in Karnataka. And I expressed, to Professor Meva saying I would like to do explore Karnataka. Then one of the project was generated, and through that one we started exploring Karnataka. And the exploration, was done with a lot of constraints. And this is one of the picture I have put it here. The how we have surveyed in Karnataka. What happened is, okay, I was given a jeep and I was given torch and everything, and yes, now we have to survey. But if but we had no driver or no other assistant because it was with relatively less money, and I was unable to express many of these constraints to the sir. Then I asked and I discussed with my wife Shantala and how to go about it because I want to survey slender loris in Karnataka. Then she decided that she left many other projects. She decided to help me in this entire event. Then I used to drive the jeep and she used to sit outside and flash the light in the forest to detect the animal. This is how we explored the entire Karnataka forest area with the support of is Karnataka Forest Department. People always supported quite a lot, and in every venture the people were accompanied and they supported in the guest house and supported in various ways to explore this one because this was in the night. And ultimately, then we surveyed many parts of the area, and we could see now beautiful map having what species is found where, and in which are all the districts or taluks are having different subspecies of loris. This gives the kind of an idea where the lorises are found in Karnataka. Karnataka is having both the subspecies, that is Malabaricus and that is Malabar slender loris, that is largely confined to the Western Ghats, where on the other hand, Mysuru slender loris is found in actually 3 districts except in Mysuru. And this is the table provides a kind of an idea about Malabar grey slender loris. And many of the areas, though we have put quite a lot of effort in the Bandipur, Nugu, Nagarhole, we didn't get to see any single individual in these areas. And we don't know even if we see any animal in this area, which subspecies is not found. Since they are very close to the Western Ghats and the system, I have just placed here, but there are no detection. And otherwise, the lorises are known from Brahmagiri, Makut, Talakaveri, Pushpagiri, Kudremukh, Someshwar, Sharavati, Sirsi Honavar, Dandeli, and even Bhimgarh. In all these areas, we recorded slender loris, that is Malabar slender loris. And venture in the plains, we have many other stories again, in the especially in Kolar district, and Kolar district is having a very peculiar nature and known for a lot of black magic. And different incidences also have happened because it's a tri-junction of 3 states, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. So a lot of illegal things also used to happen. So venturing out again in the night, it was big difficult. In spite of that, we ventured and we experienced so many things in this area. One of the incidents, just I would like to share again, the similar type of experience what we had in Tamil Nadu, we experienced in Malur, Taluk of Kolar. And we went looking for the loris in the Malur area in one of the patch. And when we came back in the midnight at 1 a.m., and again that road was blocked. and people were ready again with the stones and the stick. And we stopped the vehicle. Then people started attacking. Why you have gone with the one lady and three other people? Means I was driving and two forest department other watchers, and only Shantla was there. And that has become a big puzzle for these people. Then they shouted, and after a half an hour of argument, then I produced all my document and permission letter, but they were not ready to get convinced. Then those forest department, when I asked, they were new and they were not. These people could not recognize them. Fortunately, one of the watcher in that area, and he was from earlier working with the forest department. Now he is not working. He was there in the group of people. Then suddenly he popped out. Then he recognized those guards and the forest department. Then he convinced that these people are from the forest department. Then only people got convinced. Okay, they are they are here for the genuine reason. After all these things, then we have asked why you are doing like this. Then they convey the kind of a story that, sir, this is a kind of a patch. Often from a different state they come, and it is a land of murder. And so there are few murders have happened of different girls or women, and it has become a kind of a big question. And it was a kind of a alert for the local people also that there is another jeep gone and something wrong. That's why. Then after we convinced and after we showed all the photos and all those things, they got convinced. Then we came out of that entire episode. And another incident I would like to share again in the Kolara is amazing thing. Since this is known for the black magic. One day after surveying, from a Bangarpet, and we were going towards Kolar guest house, and in between, there was one temple next to the road. In the midnight, that suddenly we were approaching the temple, and suddenly that entire light of that temple was turned on. One lady started coming out with the diya and started walking on a road. And that time we were really scared, and even the forest department watcher was not ready to come out and to say anything. Then we had a different type of experience in the night, but ultimately we were able to survey all these areas with so much of many of these stories, and it is like a different episodes and chapters. Ultimately, that all those things resulted in a beautiful understanding of the species. That is where these animals are found more, where they are less, where they are present, where they are absent. And this is the distribution of the loris. And if you look at it, this is the Malabar slender loris, and in entire Karnataka, the Mysuru slender loris is found in this particular belt. That is basically Tumkur district, Bangalore district. Now they are divided. There are many more districts, and Kolar district. And again, they are not found in all the taluks, because some of the, for example, Madhugiri and a couple of these areas are more rocky outcrop down, having much of a scrub forest. But one of the important few areas that always we have to remember for the conservation of loris is few patches. That is in Kunigal and Tumkur and Magadi, Nelamangala in Bangalore, and Malur in Kolar. And though this grey slender loris, Mysuru slender loris, is found in some of the patches like BRT Tiger Reserve and also Bannerghatta National Park and MMS, but their abundance is not that great in this protected area. And also in Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, we could not really locate any of the loris, in spite of we covering about at least 19 kilometer. And the total effort in the Karnataka, what we have put is about 1,114 kilometer of covering, and we encountered about 100 loris. That gives the encounter rate of about 0.1 animal per kilometer that we have covered. If you look at for this kind of an abundance, encounter rate, the abundance basically in Malur and Magadi, Nelamangala, and these are all very important from the point of conservation. And this is what the summary of the entire survey in Karnataka, Mysuru Slender. What I want to again point out here is they're all fragmented population.
Hello, sir. Sir, I guess you have been muted. Sir? Sir, we are unable to hear your voice.
To survey.
Sir, one second. Sir, we were unable to hear your voice. So can you please repeat the last sentence again?
These prioritized areas are more important actually from the point of conservation. And that's why that particular list is provided. And further, now what we have done again, from the point of a methodology, if we want to really estimate these animals and assess the population of lorises in a different area, when we have to do it in the night, again that questions are raised at many times. Just for to understand this particular phenomenon, we also estimated the population in a different timings of the night and also different light phase of the moon. What we have found basically, lorises are active almost in the from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. almost any time. If you look at the density estimation in the evening, it was 1.07. Even in the midnight when we have walked of the transects and estimated, the number remained almost the same. Early morning, again 1.07. Even dark phase and the light phase. That this indicates that, like in many other diurnal animals, we say that when they are most active, that is the time we have to walk or assess their estimate. That's where the sampling has to be done. But unlike those animals, lorises can be surveyed at any time of the night and any day, means in the throughout 360 days. Thus, these animals can be surveyed. Using this one again to prioritize the patches, we have surveyed again in the some of the important areas in the Tumkur, Kolar, Bangalore, as I have earlier listed the most important places, to see again which place if we have to plan some kind of a conservation and management. And ultimately, if you look at it, some of these Ujjini, Ipadi, and Nagavalli of Tumkur divisions are very important for the conservation of loris. Again, Savandurga of Bangalore rural are also important locations having the highest densities of the loris. But these densities, although they are highest, but many of these patches are very small. That's what is one of the most important thing that need to be considered. If we disturb any of these small patches, 2 square kilometer, probably half square kilometer of area, then that entire population will get affected, and there will be a gradually local extinction can happen. Probably this may be the reason that if you look at in many other areas also entire in the Tumkur, Kolar, Bangalore district, they are highly confined to the very few pockets, and probably that indicates that from many pockets they have already disappeared. So that means they are only remnant population with probably highest density. So this is all, whatever so far I have spoken about a spatial distribution of species. That's what is our ventures, over the period of 2 decades, 2.5 decades. And ultimately, after few of the surveys, Sir Professor Meva Singh initiated the detailed study of these lorises for their ecology and behavior. And if you look at what do they eat and or where they are found, if that kind of information was very much required for the conservation and management. If you look at here, what type of a forests are more important? Deciduous forest with no undergrowth. When we have surveyed, there are no detection. They might occur probably because the canopies will be there. They may be going, in the canopies, but chances of they occurring in such a forest are very less. And also, totally degraded open scrub also will not have a loris. But in all other type of a forest, they are found. But plantations and also village and cultivated land is having a more abundance than many other forest types. And again, since these animals are about just about a 400-gram animal, in what height they go, and also what kind of a strata or a vertical strata they use. If you look at it, usually, largely, the Mysuru Slender loris is confined to less than 10 meters height is highly preferred. That's where commonly these animals are sighted. Although Malabar slender loris, since they are found in the wet forest area, they are found even more than 20 meters, but more than 20 meters, that forest itself is not available in most of the, where the grey slender loris is, Mysuru slender loris is found. That's why there are no records in this area. Otherwise, if you look at it, it is largely confined here. That is a 10 meter. That means up to 30 meter is the usual height where these animals often use. And this is one of the paper that we have published, and this gives a kind of an idea about their most of the behavioral variation in different other studies, two studies, and one of the important factor is the diet of the loris, and these studies provide basically that insects are more important in the diet of a loris. That varies from 60 to 92%. This is from the two studies, two different locations where they have been followed for almost a year, and almost in the entire night these individuals were followed and looked at what these animals are eating. And there are two studies that is more important. Is one of the study which was done by Dr. Sindhu Radhakrishna. She is now in NIAS. And another study, the Nekaris, then after all we explored this, she came back and then she conducted a study again for about about a year period, and then the basic understanding of the loris came out. And later, again, we continued this type of a study in one more location for a different type of a habitat, considering the heterogeneity. Then we looked at whether that diet composition, behavior, home range, whether vary, from the locations to location, or change in the habitat availability. And then, yes, it gave a kind of an answer. Yes, it vary a lot. That variation is this one. That is 60 to 92%, and plant material is 2 to 13, and that is especially flowers and exudates. And the plant material, even in some of the cases, they have fed the fruits and seeds. We don't know, whether they have fed basically the insects in the fruits or seeds, but seen that they are feeding on the fruits and seeds, and they also feed on animal prey. Here, if you look at it, this fellow is feeding on the lizard, and here this is the beetle. This is, it is an amazing thing to see that in a 2-3 minutes of a period, the loris can eat complete one lizard. And we have also documented another thing that in Malabar slender loris, that is, they are very intelligent animal. And one day when we were observing that ants were passing on it, on the branch, and the loris used to lick their hand and keep the hand in between the ants line on a branch, and then they started ants started climbing and got stick to the limbs, and it started just licking it. That shows that their capability and their intelligence of extracting the food resources in the nature. And once it comes to the home range of loris, these are all small, tiny animal. It's a 400-gram animal, as you know that one. And the long-term study of about 2.5 years of a study by Radha Krishna, that is her PhD, shows that basically this is the adult female data, adult female, and the home range is somewhere ranged. It is 0.9 to 1.6 hectare. Approximately, if you really look at it, it's 1 hectare is the usual range of a female. On the other hand, adult male range 1.7 to 3.3 hectares. Somewhere around 2 hectares, almost a double or little more than even a double is the mean value of the adult male. And if this is the area where the female ranges are there and the same road, and if you look at it, the male overlaps with the home range of the many other females, and also many even males also having a overlap in the home range of the other males. One thing, very important thing is the overlap in the range by females is almost negligible or almost less. On the other hand, overlap in the home range by males is very, very high. It is almost 70 to 80% overlap in the home range. And reproductive behavior and birth in the Mysuru Slender lories, they can breed twice in a year and they come to estrus, and that's why they have 2 peaks basically. And that is April and June and October and December. And the mating system is promiscuous. That means that female mates with several males, and also this can be consecutive matings also in the turn. And usually the female, when they are in estrus, and it will last for about 24 hours of time. And within this particular period, many males, they gather around a female, and there will be a lot of fights also happens. And in a turn, they take a turn and they mate and they fight, and lot of dramas happens. And female allow many of the males to mate. And the gestation period after mating is about 5.5 months, and interbirth interval is somewhere around 7 months. And they give a birth for both, twins and also singleton. You can see 2, here. And what we have recorded, in this area and also in the other location in the Malapatti, that births are 80% are twins. And they are isosexual usually. If it is a male and both will be the male, or if they are female and both will be females. And weaning starts by 5 months of the age, and usually sexual maturity of both male and female will be 10 to 15 months. And one more interesting thing is immediately, when they give a birth, after they start 2 months of time, they start again cycling, and they can again go for the next round of breeding, and they can conceive in that particular period. That's how, by lactating on one side, they start cycling and they breed. That is a kind of a phenomenon documented in the Mysuru grey lories. And one very interesting thing that has been noticed with these lorises is they also have a kindergarten. And usually, in the human society, in our society, people go for working, and both husband and wife will go, and mothers are not having options nowadays. So what they do, they go to the kindergarten or babysitting, they leave their young ones and they take care of it, and they come back again after the work, they pick up their young ones. And it is the same phenomenon exists even in the lories. In the night, many of these females have their own home range, but still they are all related. and they have a kind of a one common place of the junction of a two or three or four females, and that particular junction is little bit of a overlap junction between all the females, and that is the area they use it as a parking area. This parking starts at the age of 3 weeks. Immediately after 3 weeks of the birth, that is the time they park their young ones in one of the bush and they go for their foraging. And then once in a while, for a couple of hours gap, they come back, they feed their young ones, they go back. That is a beautiful phenomenon exists in these animals. And it is amazing to see, many young ones popping out from these bushes when you flash the light, and the parking is known in these animals. So this is all about whatever I have spoken about spatial distribution and their behavior, ecology, and now at the end, it is one of the important phenomena that we need to know that these animals are also traded. And if you look at, there are smuggling cases, and people in many cases, in many of the airports, they have been confiscated, and it is used in the pet trade. And this is also again, in the black magic, cruelty. It is also used. And also in some of the regions, the animal is used by the astrologers, and they capture the animal and they keep it in a cage and they use it for, as I have told you about the Mariappan loris, and often seen again in some of the area roadkills, and also electrocution is very common, very often seen in the high density areas. More than many of these aspects, especially these aspects, the pet trade is, and also using for the black magic, if those are all the issues need to be addressed for the conservation and the management of these animals. And there is this particular episode, I liked it. People have a habit, actually, when they see any of these type of animals, they capture it and they take it to the zoo, or they give it to the forest department. And this is one of the bad culture. It has been seen in many places. They don't leave the animals wherever that is seen. Especially young ones, they pick up and they come and they give it. But this is a kind of an episode in Tirumala. It happened that those forest department again, they went back to the same place and they have released it back, and they see to it that mother will come and later it unites. And this is a kind of a thing that can be curbed basically by making awareness programs and reaching out to the people, especially in the habitat areas. Not in the other areas, it is not required. If we really want to have a more conservation program, where the people are regularly interact with these animals, that is the area need that kind of a awareness program, so that people can be curbed to pick up these animals. This is not only with the loris, even I have seen with people picking up the leopard cubs and other cubs and bringing to the Mysuru Zoo or bringing to the different zoos are quite common, and this has to be communicated to the local people, and education and the different type of programs are very much required. Last but not least, there is something I found very interesting to share with all the people, and the name, local name, it has so much actually. It carries a lot of things, and people have a different type of a perception on the animal and animal habitat about the animal. It is there. For example, if I take Vana Manusya, Vana means it is a forest. Adavi Manusya, it is again a forest. And Kadu is again, it is a forest. And Papa, here Papa means it looks like young one. So it is basically animal, young one, or person of the forest. That's how it is conveyed. But on the other hand, there is, in Dakshin Kannada, there is a beautiful name. I liked it, Uri Olu. Uri means it is like a burning, and Olu means ice. It is an animal with burning eyes. This is a name, in the Dakshin Kannada. On the other hand, in Uttar Kannada is having a different type of a name. Nyada means it is very slender animal. It's like, that too, Bada Nyada is like it has become a totally dried animal. So that is the name that they use, Bada Nyada or Nyada in Uttar Kannada. And another thing, the name Bidrumile Chigare or Bidrumile Chadre, both are used in different area. Bidrumile Chigare means it's like a deer or antelope, and basically they are known for leap, jump, and disappear. But here they call it for the loris that can disappear in the bamboo bush. And or Chadure means is an intelligent, lady or intelligent woman, and basically here it is coined in such a way that the loris is like a woman, and she's very good, very intelligent to survive in the thorny bushes of the bamboo. And in Tamil, it is called Tevangu. Tevangu means it's like a very slender built animal. It's the same thing again, Kutti Tevangu or Devanga Pilli. Pilli is means basically, cat, and cat face and the loris face, they, it resembles. That's why they called, okay, it is Devanga Pilli, which is a slender animal having a face of a cat. And there is another thing, another name, Kaya Pei. Kaya means it's like a forest. Pei means it's like a ghost or a devil. And this is known, Malayalam, especially in the Kurwa community, Kurwa Island, people say like that. It's a ghost of the forest. This one. Even this type of a name is also known in Northeast India for slow loris. And with these names and interesting things and how people have perceived, with this one, I end my talk. And people who have really helped and contributed to this entire journey is Professor Meva Singh, who is the person behind all these works and initiated. And initial survey was done with Dr. Anand Kumar, and the major work was done with by Dr. Sindhu Radhakrishnan and Dr. Anna Nekaris. Now she is professor at Oxford Brook University and taking care of primatology field. And Sindhu Radhakrishna is professor in NIAS. Anand Kumar is the director of in the NCF now. And Shantala, she is the one joined the journey to survey the loris in the entire Karnataka. And my kids supported a lot during the survey, and in many cases, and Ashwin helped us in the surveying the lorises in the night. And Nivedita she is the one from our SACON, and helped me in the drawing of many of these stories to build. And really we thank for her. The last but not least, he is the Shashi. He is the one probably has seen most lorises in the entire India, because the entire Tamil Nadu and also Kerala survey, he was part of it, and he has played a major role in understanding of lorises in in India. And I thank you, all the people who patiently listened to me for so far. And this is my email ID. And if anyone is, having any questions or anything that you can share with me, and I'm happy to address those issues. And I thank for your patience.
Sir, I'll be asking questions. Okay. Sir, Shubha Kurbet is asking, how has pandemic affected the lotus?
No one has that way explored how pandemic has affected. Of course, right now we had a project, and we wanted to initiate it, but unfortunately, because of a pandemic, we could not really go and do any research work on slender loris. But right now, our knowledge in that way, how this virus has affected the loris, we don't have a clarity, or we don't know much about it, because not really explored that way.
Sir, Rishad is asking, what are the predators of lotus? Predators of lotus.
Uh, Direct predation has not been seen, but there are assumptions that based on often seen, some of the animals stalking in the habitat of our loris, that one of maybe feral cats often we see, and we know, and also there is a possibility of some of the snakes might eat loris also, and also owls also expected to be one of the bird of prey that they may predate on the loris. But direct evidences are not much available, and this is what is available in the literature. During our many of the surveys or many of the our long-term studies, during this one, direct predation has not been seen, not been recorded.
Sir, Pavan MK is asking, uh, which state in India, sorry, how many loris species are there in India and what is the status of loris in Karnataka?
That's what is my entire talk actually.
Exactly.
And India is having only one slender loris, that is Loris lidicarinas, and two subspecies. One is confined to the Western Ghats, and another one is confined to the plains of the South India, and even up to probably Orissa. We don't know, and exact numbers are not clear. That only in few locations the number have been estimated, and basically we provided only abundance of these animals, not the density. Density is available only for few pockets.
Sir, what is the loris defense against its predators?
Pardon?
Sir, what is the loris defense against its predators?
There are two three things people are talking about it, but they have a kind of a a chemical repellent. They use it so that they can they defend it using that one, and also they are very good runners also, though they are looks like. Very slender and slow, but on tree or any of the area, if you go and try to catch animal in no time, it will be probably at least 10 to 15 feet. They run in a short period, and they go to small branches where you cannot reach, and that is one way of escaping from the probably animal like a cat or other animals, and that's how they do it. But another thing important, that they cannot jump usually. They need a kind of a branch to travel from the place to place. That's where that they might end up with a problem, but they live in the kind of a habitat that where the connectivity is more. Another one of the defensive thing that we have seen is the selection of the place. Basically, for example, I have shown one of the photo. There is a Euphorbia antiquorum that is simply, even any of the cat, any of the other animals, or even owls or any other animal cannot penetrate into that one. That's how they secure themselves in those kind of a patches. They run into that kind of a patches, and they remain in those patches.
So we'll go with the next question.
Yeah.
Nureen Fatima is asking, what steps are being taken to save loris?
Uh, in reality, not much has been taken actually, and even in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu, there is in Dindigul, people have been talking about it of a conservation of this species, and in Karnataka. Earlier, it was thought to give a lot of importance to slender loris. At one point of a time, even it was thought that we should make actually slender loris, Mysuru slender loris, as animal of the state, because this is the only species carries a Mysore name. Even any other species, if you take, that is not any of the species is not a mammal species, not having any name of the Karnataka state. But ultimately, since the animal was felt that it is elusive and nocturnal, and so people ultimately dropped. But like, if they would have done it, probably it would have got much attention, and probably it would have attracted much more conservation steps. But recently, again, one more thing probably going to be initiated, but Tumkur University is coming up in the Nagavalli area. That is the habitat of actually the loris. That is where the highest density that I have talked about it. And the government, even Forest Department, has asked the Tumkur University to allocate a money for the conservation or restoration of the habitat for the loris, so then a lot of activities can happen, and the species can be protected, because they are sacrificing a lot of the area for the Tumkur University. And I think this is in the process right now. It is, I hope that it will be implemented, and also same time that hope the species will be studied also in that area, how they are going to adapt to the habitat that they are planning it, that one. And on the other hand, that the trade has to be stopped, but most of the time animals are confiscated in the in a certain places. It may be railway station, or it may be bus stand, or it may be airport. But while catching these animals are not confiscated, that entire trade, that chain has to be cut. Then only that the animal can be saved, and people may not capture it from the wild. That is very, very important for the conservation of the loris.
Next question. How powerful is the venom of loris? How powerful is the venom of loris?
I don't know about slender loris. I don't know much people anything people have done it. And but for slow loris, there's quite a lot of work it's going on by group of people, including Dr. Nekaris and these people, and they say that. That's the venom is used for the even predation, and also for the defensive mechanism. But I feel that on slender loris or Mysuru slender loris, our knowledge is very limited, or we don't have a knowledge.
So Anirudh is asking, what is the lifespan of loris, and do they live in groups or alone?
I have actually provided in one of the slide that about the home ranges and everything. They are largely live in a territorial home range, and the females will not have much overlap, and only in one of the small junctions or very little overlap will be there. That is the area usually often they use this as a parking. Otherwise, females usually they live alone. And the males will have an overlapping home range with females, and also they also have overlapping ranges among the males. And during the daytime when they sleep, seeing female loris with their old or probably 2-year-old or 3-year-old their earlier offsprings, they come and sometimes join and sit the sleep with the female, and sometimes they even their young ones will be together. But otherwise, most of the times we have seen single female or one or two individuals will be together. They don't live in the group, and they are not relatively territorial.
So, are they endangered or on the red list?
They are near threatened animal, and they are not endangered. But their population habitat loss is the major thing that we have. Probably many patches that we have lost. Probably that may be the reason I have, as pointed out, that in some of the patches, small patches, they are living there as in a high density. But if you look at it again, home range is a 1 hectare area, and the density estimated in the same area in one of our paper I have pointed out that density is also same. It is like a 1 animal per hectare area. So home range and exactly the density estimate remains the same. But in Karnataka, if you look at in the Nagavalli area or in many patches, it may be Malur are there, the density goes very high. Very high means even 2.5. That means the per half hectare of area, there will be one individual. That means the overlapping of a range may be high or they are totally confined. We don't know in that kind of a situation how they are managing, how they are living together. We don't have detailed studies, long-term studies are not being done. Actually, in a high-density area, it is interesting to see their social organization system are managing their own ranges.
So, lifespan of the species?
Lifespan of the species in the wild we don't know. The mean in the captivity for Loris lydicaninus is somewhere around 12 to 13.
Okay. So Mevan also said that in nature it's 16 years and in captivity it is up to 26 years.
That is a maximum recorded, and yeah, that is the mean recorded is somewhere around 12, I think.
Yeah. So then we have no more questions. I guess we have come to the end. Okay. So on behalf of Mysuru Zoo, once again.
Yeah.
On behalf of Mysuru Zoo, I thank you for your informative presentation and sharing your beautiful and interesting experiences on search of lorises. I extend our gratitude to CZA and to all our viewers for making this program successful. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for all the patience and listening to me, and thanks for this opportunity. Thanks you all, one and all.
Thank you, one and all.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.